Dear students, now let us discuss the components of budgetary control system. The policy of a business for a defined period is represented by the master budget, the details of which are given in number of individual budgets known as functional budgets. So all functional budgets together we can call it as master budget, and the individual separate budgets we can call like purchase, sales and all, like that we can call it as functional budgets. These functional budgets are broadly categorized into three kinds: physical budgets, cost budgets and profit budgets. What do you mean by physical budgets? Physical budgets are those budgets which contains information in terms of physical units about like number of units sold, what is the current level of output, that is production, etc. For example, the quantity of sales, the quantity of production, inventory, the quantity of inventories, and the manpower budgets are known as physical budgets. Cost budgets, budgets which provide cost information in respect of manufacturing, selling, administration, etc. For example, manufacturing costs, selling costs, administration costs, research and development costs, all these cost budgets are known as cost budgets. For the next one is profit budgets, a budget which enables in the ascertainment of profit. For example, sales budget, profit and loss budget, etc. And apart from these three things, you also have apart from these three things you also have financial financial budgets. Financial budgets are those budgets which facilitate in ascertaining the financial position of a concern. For example, cash budget, capital expenditure budget, budgeted balance sheet, etc. So these are the components of functional budgets. Types of budget. In the types of budget you have fixed budget, flexible budget, master budget, functional budget, long term and short term budgets, current budget, like that. What is fixed budget? What is fixed budget? A fixed budget, a fixed budget is a budget which remains unchanged irrespective of the level of activity actually attained. A fixed budget shows the expected results of a responsibility center for only one activity level. Once the budget has determined, it is not changed even if the activity changes. Fixed budget is used by many service and companies and for some administrative functions of manufacturing companies such as purchasing, engineering and accounting. Fixed budget is used as an effective tool of cost control. In case of level of activity attained is different from the level of activity for the budgeting purposes, the fixed budget becomes ineffective. Such a budget is quite suitable for fixed expenses. It is also known as static budgets, which the word static here resembles, which does not change. What are the essential conditions for preparing a fixed budget? When the nature of business is not seasonal, and when there is no impact of external factors on the business activities, and the demand of the product is certain and stable, supply orders are issued regularly, and the market of the product should be domestic rather than foreign, and there must be no need of special labor or material in the production, and supply of production or inputs is regular, and there is a trend of price stability. All these are all the essential conditions for fixed budgets. Flexible budget. A flexible budget shows the expected results of responsibility center for several activity levels. Flexible budget is the series of static budgets for different level of activity. It is defined as a budget which, by recognizing the difference between fixed, semi-variable and variable costs, is designed to change in relations to the level of activity attained. Unlike the static or so-called fixed budgets, flexible budgets show the expected results of a responsibility center for different activity levels. You can think of a flexible budget as a series of static budgets for different levels of activity, and such budgets are especially useful in estimating and controlling the factory costs and operating expenses. Therefore, I can say that it is more realistic and practicable because it gives due consideration to the behavior of cost at different levels of activity. While preparing a flexible budget, the expenses are classified into three things: fixed expenses, semi variable expenses, and variable expenses. Here, the semi variable expenses are further segregated into fixed and variable expenses. Fixed flexible budget may be resorted to under the following situations. If in case any new business venture, due to its typical nature, it may be difficult to forecast the demand of a product accurately, or in the second case, where the business is dependent upon mercy of the nature, that is, a person dealing in wool trade sorry a person dealing in the wool trade may have enough market if temperature goes below the freezing point. That is, a person dealing in the wool trade may have enough market in winter seasons. Like that, in case of labor intensive industries, yeah. So the flexible budgets are the series of static budgets, or that is fixed budgets. While preparing flexible budget, the revenue and expenses are classified into fixed, variable, and semi-variable. In most cases, the level of activity during the period varies from period to period due to change in demand or seasonal nature or changing circumstances. And in such industries, the government organizations' flexible budget is the most suitable budget. So, and the next one is functional budget. So, what is this functional budgets? Budgets which relate to the individual function or task in an organization are known as functional budgets. For example, a purchase budget, a sales budget, the production budget, the plant utilization budget, the cash budget, etc. So, the functional budget is one which is regularly related to the functions of a business. Here, the sales budget means sales forecast. It is the commencement of budgeting, and hence, sales budget assumes the primary importance. What is production budget? Production budget shows the production for the budget period based upon the sales budget, based upon the production capacity of the factory, based upon the planned increase or decrease in the finished stocks, and the policy governing outside the purchase. The production budget is normally stated in units of output. What is plant utilization budget? The plant utilization budget represents in terms of working hours, weight or other convenient units of plant facilities required to carry out the program laid down in the production budget. The main purpose of this budget are to determine the load on each process, cost or groups of machines. What is labor budget? Here, once the sales and production budgets are compiled, thereafter plant utilization budget is settled. Detailed amount of various machine operations involved and services required can be arrived at. This will facilitate the preparation of an estimate of different grades of labor required. And from this, the standard hours required to be worked can be prepared. The total labor complement thus budgeted can be divided into direct and indirect. Standard rates of wages for each grade of labor can be introduced, and then direct and indirect labor cost budgets can be prepared. And the next one is master budget. What is a master budget? Master budget, it is the consolidated summary of various functional budgets. It is based on the goals set. It serves as the basis upon which the budgeted profit and loss account and forecasted balance sheet are built upon. Master budget. It is a consolidated summary as we discussed. When all the necessary functional budgets have been prepared, the budget officer will prepare the master budget, which may consist of budgeted profit and loss account and projected or budgeted balance sheet. These are, in fact, the budget summaries. When the master budget is approved by the board of directors, it represents a standard for the achievement of which all the departments will work on. And on the basis of this various budget schedules prepared earlier in this study, master budget will be prepared. And another classification of budgets is based on the time period. These types of budgets are classified on the basis of time periods known as long-term budget, short-term budget, and the current budgets. What is a long-term budget? The long-term budgets are prepared to depict or to portray the long-term planning of the business. The period of long-term budgets varies between 3 to 10 years. These budgets are useful for those for those industries where the gestation period is long, that is machinery, electricity, etc. Short-term budget. These budgets are generally for 1 or 2 years and are in the form of monetary terms. The consumer's goods industries like sugar, cotton, and textile use the short-term budgets. And the next one is current budgets. A budget which is established for use over a short period of time and is related to the current conditions, it is called as current budget. And the next one is zero based budgeting. Zero based budgeting is an emergent form of budgeting which arises to overcome the limitations of incremental budgeting system. Zero based budgeting is defined as a method of budgeting which requires each cost element to be specifically justified. Although the activities to which appropriate budget relates to or belongs to undertaken for the first time without approval, the budget allowance is zero. Zero based budgeting refers to the budgeting from the scratch. Zero based budgeting is an activity based budgeting system where the budgets are prepared for each activity rather than the functional department. To receive the funding during the budgeting process, each activity must be justified in terms of continued usefulness. What are the advantages in this ZBB zero based budgeting? It provides a systematic approach for evaluation of different activities and ranks them in order to preference for allocation of scarce resources. It provides an opportunity to allocate resources for various activities, functions, only after having a thorough cost benefit analysis. The wasteful expenditure can be easily identified and eliminated. Zero based budgeting is different from the traditional budgeting, so where the budgeting starts from scratch, that is from the ground level, that is from the level 0. When the budget is prepared, we call it as zero based budget.